Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in the session. And I see still people are joining in. So we'll just continue with this session. And this is Pranav from the product management team of Wembu, who will be the organizer. And I do have Mr. Mani Subramaniam and Ashwin Ravichandran from the same team who will be hosting it as a co-organizers from my team. So people, if you have any doubts regarding the webinar that we're going to have, please post your questions in a Q&A box, which you could see in your webinar platform. So, and whatever the questions that you have will be answered by our team members, mainly by Ashwin and Mani. And more predominantly, if some of the questions, if needs any technical assistance or any more of a technical clarity, we would take its time to discuss with our engineering team, and we'll be sharing it through an email. But before that, what we are going to see is about the BDRSuite version 7.0. I have to tell you, this is a all-awaited series which we have been waiting for a long period of time to release, with much of the new features and enhancements along with the stabilization of the product. So that is how the product has been built, and we have launched it. The GA purpose of the 7.0 has been launched so far for a fresh alone installation. Okay. So, and basically, I just want to cover up with the ground rules of this session. So this session is going to be in listen only mode for the attendees who have joined in. I'm sorry for the sore throat. Actually, yes, and if you have your questions, as I said, you will have a QA. And then this session, initially, I'll just cover things basically through a theoretical session, through a presentation, and then I'll be showing you an overview of what the features that I just entered into the build, or we have incorporated into the version 7.0. So that will be discussed in this basic scenario of the webinar. And the detailed description of each of the feature and each of the product can be discussed through a demo. So we do have people from our team. If you want any one-on-one session for as demo, then you can just raise it at a demo request to your account manager, and they will help you with the demo session assigned with the team. So now, without taking much ado, we'll just directly jump into what we have for this BDRSuite. So I have to start on with some of the basic from the initial stage of the presentation, which more of the partners would have previously seen it. And this is for the new partners who have signed up with the BDRSuite, because we have entered into two great events. One was GITEX 2023. So we have scored some partners over there since because of our brand richness, and we also have went for a Channel Futures Summit, where we have been portrayed as one of the top sponsors for that. And those details are those partners who have signed up from a Channel Futures Summit has also been included in this session. So welcome you all for this session once again, and we'll start what this BDRSuite holds up for us. Yeah. So this BDRSuite, as everyone knows, this is a webinar session for version 7.0, which was released last week. So this BDRSuite is one of the backup and disaster recovery software, which was a portfolio of Wembu. So a small intro about Wembu that I wanted to cover for the new attendees who have joined this webinar for the first time. So Wembu has its footsteps in 100 plus countries and has been in this data protection business for more than 2 decades. And we have edged up a product that would satisfy all your requirements from a basic level of market space, that is from a small medium business to a mid-range business to an enterprise class business. So this one single product has been edged to scale up till from a end user perspective till an enterprise level perspective. So these are the technology partners of Wembu. We have been partnering with them, and some of the futuristic features are also being built in our research labs of Wembu based with our technology partners. Now, moving forward, these are few of our customers who have been using our software till date. and directly into the small introduction about what the portfolio of Wembu has for you. So the Wembu Technologies, as I told you, playing as a key player in the data protection market, and specifically for the backup and disaster recovery, we have a software that is BDRSuite. That is more of a comprehensive solution that could be flexibly deployed. It's more as a software that could be flexibly deployed on your uh, virtual, physical, and even in your cloud instances. And you can use your own storage for this purpose. So the storage variants can be from your local storage, like directly attached storage, network drives such as NAS or SAN, and then other variants of cloud, which we call that as object storage, mainly for AWS S3, any of your Azure Blob storage, or your Google Cloud. Including, we also have this S3 compatible storages such as MinIO and Wasabi and Scality also. It is much of an all your S3 compatible devices that we support. So all these storages can be used as a storage repository in this BDRSuite. And a BDR Cloud is a part and parcel of the BDRSuite here, which is more towards the cloud backup and recovery. And this is specifically for the end user's perspective. So BDR Cloud would be using storage of the Wembu Cloud, or BDR Cloud we call it as, and this storage can be accessed by the end users specifically for the file and folder level backups or the Microsoft 365 backups, which they have taken a backup using the BDR Cloud. It's a complete sign up. It's not a software. BDR Cloud is not a software here. It's a complete sign up, whereas BDRSuite is a software. So this is the difference between a BDRSuite and a BDR Cloud, two portfolios where we play in. Now, more towards the BDR Cloud people. So as you could see, BDRSuite is a comprehensive solution that could cater to all types of businesses, which I said, which includes your data center and private cloud, your SaaS applications, endpoints, and workloads, or whatnot. It is mostly for all your environments that we support. So either if you have a virtual environment, we have the VMware, Hyper-V, and KVM support for you at a VM level. And if you have a physical machines, server machines of Windows or Linux, for Windows we provide both file folder as well as disk image level backups. Whereas for Linux, we support file or folder level backups for all the Red Hat and Debian variants of Linux. And to the new addition, we have also included the file share or NAS backup to the version 7.0. So obviously, I'll be talking about that in the new details that we have added up. And then I have the application level backup. So this application level backup includes your physical servers of Exchange SQL, SharePoint, MySQL, and PostgreSQL. It can be either a physical application server or a virtual machines, or even in your cloud instance. You can just take a backup of this. And much towards the end, you have the SaaS applications, more like Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace, where you'll be taking a user mailbox level backup, which includes the mails, contacts, calendars, OneDrive in case of Microsoft 365, and Google Drive in case of Google Workspace. Apart from this, for Microsoft 365, you'll be taking the SharePoint Online and Teams backup. The shared mailbox backup and group mailbox backup for both Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace has also been added to this scenario. Now for endpoints, see, endpoints is basically at a file or folder level that everyone would be asking for. But since we bought in the endpoints as one of the internal feature of the BDRSuite, now it is fully centralized management from the backup server itself. So that you'll have it for Windows, Mac, and Linux endpoints. And for cloud workloads, we have a new addition of AWS and Azure. And you also have a new feature there where you can take a backup of it and store it locally. So that is advantages and recent things that we have added up. So all these whatever I've just shown you in this slide will be directly managed from a centralized management console that you have with BDRSuite. Okay, now to the topic. What's new in BDRSuite version 7.0.0? So that is the all awaited features based on each one of your feedbacks and each one of your feature requests. We have added our version 7.0 or with some enrichments, some bug fixes, multiple enhancements, new more towards the futuristic features that we have included. So first I'll start off with what all the new backup and recovery support that we offer. So one is the KVM. So if you have a KVM, a virtual machine hosted on your KVM, you can back up your virtual machine using an agentless solution from the backup server itself. So that is what your KVM backup and recovery means here. And you have the Azure VM backup and recovery, which is for your cloud instance. This is again it is completely a agentless solution, and we'll be using the APIs of Azure to take a snap. We'll hold the snap in the Azure region, one of the snap, and we also have an option to have the backup data, the snap data, to be stored in the local storage. The local storage can be your physical storage of your choice, that is your object storage, your block storage, and then even your object storage, which is your cloud storage. So it is a varied support where a cloud backup which you configure to take, and then you store it locally, and later it could also be brought up as a virtual machine on your on-prem environment. So that's the advantage that we have, and much more features of enhancements will be done to those cloud workloads in our upcoming releases of version 7.0 series. And then the same for AWS. So AWS backup, AWS easy to instance backup is something which we already had in our portfolio, but now we have enriched it by having a feature to store the AWS backup data into your local storage options. So either block storage or object storage of your choice from the BDRSuite. Next, the new addition, that is PostgreSQL, the widely used database. Initially we had up till MySQL. Now we have added up with PostgreSQL as well. So this is directly managed from the centralized window, and you'll be taking a backup of your PostgreSQL at a granular level, and then you will be restoring it at a granular level as well. So that is more like an application-centric type of backup. And some of the other new features that we have is your file share backup, which I said. So if you are having any NAS drive or any of your like NAS, basically shared network drive, or any of your Synology or QNAP NAS drives, all these can be taken a backup at a file or folder level and can be restored to the same location. So this copy of NAS alone, initially we had it with at a file or folder at an image level or at a file server level. Now it is more specific to the NAS device alone. So just by pushing an agent, we'll be taking a backup of all your files and folders within the shared path. Okay. Next, the majorly requested feature of two-factor authentication for a user to log into the backup server console. So the two-factor authentication has also been enabled, but now it is at an email level. Later, we'll also try to bring it up based on the feature request if raised. So as of now, the two-factor authentication goes on with a verification code sent to your registered mail ID with the username and the credentials as well. Now, ransomware is something that we are tirelessly working on, and we also have some of the great plans for the in our roadmap for the upcoming release of 7.1. But in this 7.0, we have this pre or post backup scripts that we have added up. Okay, so you can automate the process. So before you take a backup, you just scan through the files and folders that you have, or the complete image of what you're going to take, or the complete machine. You can just have a scan of it, and then you take a backup. And then after your backup is done, you can again scan it when it is getting stored in the storage repository. So the pre and post backup script helps you to automate on this process. And other option of new feature that we have is a file recovery to the source. So this has been something which we have missed in our previous releases. Now, whatever the file level backup that you configure from the centralized console, you can get to restore it to the source machine itself. So that's the added advantage here. And this feature will, as of now, is only for the file backups, file folder level backups. It will be soon added up for the image level backups as well. So once you get up to the image level, you will be able to restore your files and folders to the source machine itself. Now, these are the new features that we have in our version 7.4. And apart from this, we also have one main feature, that is the rebuild process, which was a manual step previously, has been made automated now. So you just need to have the path of your storage repository. So once you add that path, you can bring up your backup server from the scratch. So that's a new addition that we have also added up to the version 7.0. So basically, this 7.0 is a release that has been concentrated majorly for the centralized management, the easy process of backups, and the easy process of restore. So that is what we have concentrated mainly on. And we have also put in some of the efforts to the reporting section. So those in regarding that, I'm just talking about the enhancements that we have in our version 7.0. So the enhancement starts with the incorporation of Microsoft SQL, MySQL, and PostgreSQL into the applications and database backup section of the BDR suite. Next, you have the folder path as backup repository, which can be added flexibly so that you can store your data directly to that particular NAS or SAN folder. Okay, and then you have your automatic agent push that could be concentrated from the centralized backup server. So all the agents can be pushed directly from the backup server, or you can just download the agent and install the agent manually also. So that option is also available for both image level, file or folder level, and application or DB level backups. Okay, and then you have the offsite copy support for your backup data stored in object storage repository, which we have restricted previously. Now, even if you're going to store your primary copy of your data in cloud, you get the option to enable offsite copy for the cloud stored data. So that is what your offsite copy is all about for your object storage repository data is all about. Next, the long awaited feature, that is the tape library support. So as everyone knows, we support the native tape library, and that too from disk to tape model only for image level backups, and we support from LTO generation 3 and above. Initially we were supporting only for auto-loaded tape libraries. From this release, you get to add even your standalone tape libraries for the backup data, to archive your backup data. That's an archival purpose. And then the email notification to end users. So this is specifically for the endpoints users. So since the endpoints has been concentrated towards the centralized management, now we have enabled the individual email notification for each of the endpoint user, so that whatever the status of their backup job or the recovery job will be immediately notified through their email ID that they have added to the source machine. Okay, so for their laptop, what is the backup status will be their they'll be getting it as their emails for detailed notification. Yeah, and we also added up with missed backup schedule report, which was lately introduced, and there are multiple enhancements which we refined for SaaS applications, basically for Microsoft 365, regarding the search options and recovery status detail. All these we have enabled it, and also the process of backup also has been enriched for SaaS applications, basically for Microsoft 365 alone, and also some features for Google Workspace as well. Okay, so this is what some of the enhancements. These are one part of the enhancements that I'm just mentioning. There are multiple other enhancements that is also gone in, but those enhancements are basically for performance enhancements and more towards the stability of the product. Okay, and and we will just run into the live demo for version 7.0. Quick demonstration of what this version 7.0 holds. Okay, just an overview of things, of the features that I'll be talking about. If required for an complete demonstration, I would request you to raise it as a demo request to your account managers so that they can set up a demo session, a one-on-one demo session with our team members. Okay, now we'll just have an overview of the call. Just bear with me before I share my screen. Okay, so as everyone knows, this BDRSuite is a comprehensive solution, yes, and it is also a web-based console. It's not an application-based console, so it's completely a web-based console that you guys are seeing here. I have just taken a console of my machine that is 102.127, and this software install machine is a couple of miles away from me. I've just taken the console with a 6060 HTTP port number. And one thing that I wanted to mention, people, while you're installing the backup software, you can even add your backup server with a DNS name for public or within a public IP so that you can access it from anywhere around the globe. So that is also possible. But make sure that you have this 6060 as your port number to view the screen. Okay. So I'm just logging in with a default username and password, which is admin and admin by default. But while installation, if you want to change it, you can change it. I haven't enabled the two-factor authentication here for now, but lately I'll be doing so. So this is what your version 7.0 will be looking like. Not much of a UI change that we have concentrated this time, but something like the endpoints was something around here over here, which was incorporated directly to the data center, private cloud, and endpoint section. So here you could see some of the new features that we have added in, like VMware backup and replication, or Hyper-V backup and replication, or the previous ones. But the KVM is something that we have added newly. And then we also have this endpoints and servers all incorporated directly into the product in this first section itself. That is, you have the Windows disk image backup and files and folders backup, and Linux files and folders backup, and Mac files and folders backup to be incorporated directly. Now, the point of adding, so if I don't want to see any of the option, I can just disable it. And this option, or even while installing, you can uncheck it or check the features that is to be required. So if I don't want to go with VMware, I can just click on disable and apply for the VMware. Now I'll just explain you about the KVM backup. Okay, so the first step initially when you log into the console is you will be checking out with the block storage or object storage. So once you immediately log in, whatever the local storage that you have will be added automatically as a default repo. Okay, and if you wanted to add anything new, you can just create new and add your block storage if required. Okay, and for object storage, not much of a change has gone through, so it is all the same one which you would be seeing in 5.6 and its series. So it's the same UI. Now, the major thing is about the KVM. So when I click to add my KVM, I have the similar option. Either I could push my agent automatically by giving the IP address or the DNS name of the KVM source KVM machine with the administrator credential of the machine and add it to my backup server, or I can just go with a manual installation of the agent. I'll just download the this is a BDS. So this BDS agent can be manually installed on your KVM host, and then we can take a backup. See, I would since I mentioned it is agentless VM backup, the host would be running the agent, not the virtual machines, not the guest operating system. You won't be installing anything on the guest operating system. It is only on the host machines you will be adding those details. Okay, so once you add your KVM, I have added my one of my KVM machine. Now I just go to backup, click on configure backup, and click to configure the backup for the KVM. So here again, the backup job name, I can just give any of a backup job, and I can choose a repository type either in a block storage or object storage. Object storage is your cloud storage. Now the backup repository name. So I'm just going with the default one because the basic thing which I have as of now. So on the next scale here, when I when I list it, it will just show me the virtual machines that I have under my hypervisor of KVM. Either I can take a host level backup or anything in specific that I can configure a backup to. So I'm just going forward. The scheduling part, as everyone knows, the minimum RPO is from every 15 minutes that you can schedule the backups. You can run your backups from every 15 minutes, and that goes from minutes to hours, even on daily basis, and within a day, how often you want to run a backup. That is within 24 hours, how often you want to run a backup. Then you have the weekly basis, you have monthly. All these are the similar, or after a particular backup job, or manually, or one time. All these you have. So as per the design, the initial backup will be a full backup followed by its incremental. And if at all you need any new full backups, you can either choose up with additional full backup or synthetic full backup. You can also set an expiry date for your backup job. So it's all the same. What you have seen before, it is all the same. And you can also enable your retention option if you want to retain a certain amount of versions, backup versions in your storage repository. If disabled, you'll have all the versions of backup to be occupying your storage repository. Okay, and you also have this GFS retention for your full backups as well as incremental backups if you want to have the retention point archived for a longer period of time. And more forward, you can enable the encryption option. So you there will be a password added over the encrypted data. Either it could be your system generated password, which will be automatically done by the system, or you can use a custom password of your choice. But make sure you don't forget the password. If you forget, you won't be able to restore your data, delete your backup job, or edit your backup job from the backup server. So I'm just going with a thing. And to be specific, your data is all secured with AES 256-bit algorithm, both at the flight as well as at the rest at the backup repository end. And even if I'm going to send it to an offsite copy, a copy of the backup data to be in an offsite location of yours, even then the data will be at the flight encrypted, and at the rest it will be encrypted. So the compression and encryption is on hand in hand. It goes with the data while taking a backup. And if you want to run this backup job immediately, click on this checkbox and save it. Else automatically at 9 p.m. the data will start taking a backup. Okay, so this is one of the KVM machine that I've already taken a backup, and you could see the progress of the details. So whatever the size or the disk that they have has been taking a backup now. So one out of the two machines, and the other one is in progress now. It's already at 50% completed, and another 50% for the other rest of the missions has been listed here. That's for the KVM. The configuration part of the backup, we haven't changed any. It is all the similar for the VMware Hyper-V and KVM as well. Now, for the Windows, either you're taking at an endpoints level backup or your Windows server backup, you have the option in two formats. Now you can add your host directly by pushing an agent, either endpoints or servers, but majorly for Windows endpoints, automatic push won't work. It is a manual agent installation. You have to download the BBA agent, install the agent on the source machine, and then you can try configuring the backup from the backup server. Okay, it's an agent. The agent has no UI. It's just an installer. That's it. automatic push will be working only for the Windows Server operating systems. So all these are there. And obviously there are some options here, like if I'm going to configure a disk image backup, a driver, image backup driver has to be installed. So to install the driver, you have to reboot your source machine. So in such a case, either I can decide to run the reboot immediately after installation or sometime later. So those two are the options that I have, and I can ignore the complete the installation of the driver, and I can just take file or folder level backups alone. So that is an option over here. So both automatic and manual has this privilege. Manual, you will be configuring this in the agent itself, but automatic, basically for a server operating system of Windows, you'll be pushing it from here with the IP address and details that you're going to give. So once I've added this detail, I can configure the backup. Now here the email ID is what we have discussed. So for example, if it is an automatic agent installation, I can add my email ID here. If I'm doing a manual installation, then after my host is being added, I can just click on add and I can give an optional email ID. So either it could be something of this sort, an update. So what happens is, okay, since this agent has been having an email ID, so whatever the backup that I've done for this particular machine, I'll be getting its update to this mail ID. Okay. And this is one type of adding the host either automatically or manually. The other one is import of the data. So you can import the host from your AD or LDAP server if you have any, or you can even import your details from a CSV file format. So you can even download the sample of the CSV file. Maybe I can show you that sample. Just bear with me for a minute. Here, okay, they have given it here itself. So here is a sample file to download. You just click on download, you'll get a sample file to be downloaded in a CSV format where you can add the details specifically with the host name and email ID. So for example, you'll just get the host name and the email ID of the particular machine that to which user you want to add it. So that you can download from this sample CSV file format, and you have to give it in the same format to be imported to the backup server machine. So here, these are the two ways that you can add your host details to the backup server. After that, that's the same for Linux. So you have the same thing, and for Mac, you also have the same thing. But for file share, this is something that we have preferably required, like for your to take a backup of your NAS or your network drives or file share server. Just give the share path. You have to give the share path, and you'll be adding a credential to the share path if it has been required, and then you will be selecting an agent. So you have to select an agent basically. Either it could be your backup server itself. So you can select that agent installed in the backup server to connect to the shared path that you're going to give here, like something like this. So you'll be giving something like this with admin dollar privilege, and you'll be adding a host. You'll be selecting the details here, credential details here, and then you'll be selecting a host machine. So once you add this detail, you save it. Once you save, you'll get the backup agent here. But make sure your backup agent or which you're running has the administrator. It is running in the administrator privilege at your service end. Okay, you can check that in your Windows Service Center. So like basically your services.msc lists the number of services, and the BDRSuite delegation service, make sure it is running with administrator privilege. So if it is running, you'll get the status as connected, but still the file share has been connected for me. Now I can configure the backups from configure backup. Now for Windows, either I can go with disk image or the files and folders which I have added. On Linux, it is files and folders. On Mac, it is files and folders. And for file share, again, it is files and folders. The configuration of the backups will not change. It is all the similar. Only for the files and folders, you will have this such type of option. Okay, so I can browse through my files and folders here. It will list down all the files and folders that I need from the NAS drive, add it up. All these have been added here. Now I can just, if I need any filtration, like I just need only PNG or XML file, I can filter it using the standard filter, or I can use the advanced filter also to filter my data. So once done, the next step is if I wanted to run any pre or post scripts, which we were discussing. So it is one of the recommended step for ransomware. So before you back up any data, please run a pre-script, like to using the backup antivirus. I mean, using your antivirus software that you already have in your on your machine. You just run the scan, and then you will be taking a backup of your files and folders. That is what your pre-backup script runs. And then the post-backup script would be after the backup, what should be the run of the data, where either you can, while restoring, you can have design a post-backup script for that. So that is what your pre and post scripts would be working at. And you can add any number of rules like that for this purpose. Okay, now scheduling, again, the scheduling part is not going to be of much of change, so because you run to backup at every 15 minutes. And then you have, for normal files and folders, as you could see, there are two retention options. One is the retention for the incremental backups, that is either on a version based or time based. If, for example, I want to retain my 1 month of data, I'll just have 1 month of data and keep all versions within that 1 month of period. So even if I'm running a backup on daily basis or on every 6 hours once or every 1 hour once, I still have 1 month of data with all its versions, with 24 versions per day. If I'm running into on 1 hour basis, then I'll have 24 versions per day into 30 days. So that is how I'll be calculating, and I'll have all such versions in my storage repository with the timestamp. And if I want to limit on that, the versions to be maintained, I'll just keep it as 10 versions or 5 versions based on my requirement and my company's requirement. Okay, so it is over the complete choice of yours. And the other option that I have is deleted file retention. Now, though it is a backup software, I also have an option if a file has been deleted at the source end, I can still restore that deleted file from my backup server using this deleted file retention. So unknowingly or willfully, the end user deletes the particular file which has been added for the backup, you can still restore that file with this deleted file retention option here. So that is also, either you can retain it for version basis, or you can keep it up for yearly basis. Okay, so this is completely up to your choice. And again, the encryption is all going to be the same. After that, these two are the default settings that will be enabled all time, and then you save the backup job. So once you save, the data will be, the backup job will be added up like this, like a file share. And once the backup is done, you can check on the reports in this section. Okay, so you'll have both incremental and full backup reports. So initially you'll run your full backups, after that followed by the incremental, and you can download all these reports in your CSV file formats. So this, whatever the options that you have or the data sources that you're configured here, which you have taken a backup, will be listed down in this workloads. That is your AWS and Azure. So when you add your data sources of AWS and Azure, you have to go with the authentication type from your main portal account. So you have to have your access key and secret key for the accounts. Okay, so once you add your data sources account, you can add this Azure account like this. We have also given the prerequisite steps that you have to follow to add or generate your application password, tenant ID and application ID, all that are given in this detailed steps, which you can also download it in a PDF file format for your reference. Okay. And once your data sources are added, both for even for Azure and for AWS. So once the data sources are added, just go to backup, configure backup. So whatever the data that you're going to configure, like AWS, I'll be using only the EBS snapshot backup. So if I'm only having the EBS snapshot, then my backup would be stored in that EBS location, that AWS cloud location itself. If I am using EBS snapshot with a backup copy to another location, then I'll get an option to add have a copy of my backup data in my local storage. Either it could be a block storage or object storage, and that is the same for my Azure backup, Azure VM backup also. So if I'm using only Azure snapshot, then I'll be storing it in Azure region itself. Along with that, if I need a copy of that data in my local location, then I can use it in a block storage or object storage. The configuration of the backup is all similar, not much of a change that you would see in this section. But when you recover the data, the main difference that you would see is while restoring the data. So here I've just stored it in, these two are block and these two are snap. So if I'm going to recover data which I have it in my local storage, I have these three options. Either I can, this I've taken a Ubuntu instance, so I can perform a VM recovery to the subscription resource group itself. So I can completely restore it to the Azure location. Or if I'm going to choose like the volume recovery, that is also to the Azure location. But if it is from the block, that is from my storage repository, then I get to download the VMs and disk into multiple file formats. That is one of the options that we have, the basic option. Like I can download the data which I've taken a backup, that is a complete VM, into VHT, VHDX, and use it for all my Microsoft environments, VMDK and flat VMDK for my VMware environments, and raw format for any of my KVM environments. So the cloud data can also be brought down as my for my purpose, for my on-prem purpose or offline purpose, to run it as a machine. Since it is an Ubuntu machine, I'm not getting this disk mount, which is an instant option. But if this is a Windows machine, I have this disk mount option, as well as a Microsoft Azure recovery to Microsoft Azure, a direct option as well. Okay, so this is for my recovery to recovery of Azure backups that I've configured. And if it is for AWS block, okay, this AWS block, I have multiple options. So these two are from the EBS snapshots, that is whatever the data that I have in my the cloud. But these are the options that I have from the data that I've stored locally. So I can either completely restore the EC2 instance from my local repository, or any of the volume of the instance from my local repository, or again I can download it into multiple file formats. That is the thing that I previously mentioned. So like this, I can perform multiple recovery options with the cloud workloads that I have taken a backup. And SaaS applications, that is similar to what we had it before, but one new change that I have brought in is, I'll show you. Okay, you'll be selecting the organization, and then you will be individually selecting your objects. Previously, it was one single object. When you select, everything will be configured, but now it is individual options that we have. And also you have the search options that we have bought in. So to have a search of your users. Okay, so this is to ePOS API that we used to bring about this option. So any specific user that I want, I can just select from, I can just select on their name and I can use it. So here you could see when I just search it, it lists me all the detail. And either I can choose to take a backup of the complete user mailbox, the shared mailbox, the resource mailbox, or archival mailbox. So all these I can select it from here. That option is also available for my purpose. And rest of the things is all similar. So whatever the scheduling that you have, and here your scheduling is for the minimum schedule is from every 15 minutes now. Previously it was on hourly basis. Now we have escalated it, and we have now changed it to run from every 15 minutes, which is equal to what we have as a industrial standard for now. Yeah. Okay, so if I'm gonna set any timing, then I can just scale it up to 1 hour or what so. Then your compression is by default enabled, and your retention is of your choice. See, mails, user mailbox that includes the mails, calendars, and contacts will be having a separate set of retention, whereas your OneDrive items, your SharePoint sites, your Teams, and group mailbox OneDrive items will be having a separate type of retention. This retention is more towards a file or folder level retention that you have seen previously, but this retention on user mailbox, including mails, contacts, and calendars, would be on how you want to take a backup. That is how your retention point is being kept while you're configuring your SaaS applications. Now, after the SaaS, I just want to rush into the applications and DBs. In this applications and DBs, initially we will be using a client to be downloaded, and that client has to be installed on your source machine to configure a backup. So the client will have its own UI, but now since we are more towards the centralized management, we have the option to add your Microsoft SQL server, MySQL database server, your PostgreSQL, and much more directly from the backup server itself. So if, for example, if I want to add my PostgreSQL, just click on this. PostgreSQL is something new that we have included. So if I want to add it, I'll just go to my option to add data source, and here I have this Microsoft Windows or Linux where the PostgreSQL is hosted. If it is Microsoft Windows, I'll be choosing the Microsoft Windows, add the PostgreSQL data by either I can push the agent directly from the automatic process, or I can manually install the agent on the source machine and I can configure the backup. So that is an option. And for Linux also, I can add it in the same way. Either I can push it to the Linux server where the PostgreSQL is hosted, or a manual installation of agent at the Linux server would also add my host to the backup server. Okay, so that is how I've already added some of my PSQL data sources of the Windows. I've already added one. So and that's the same for MySQL as well. So the agent push is something that we are concentrating now, and the Microsoft SQL has a different set. You will be directly doing it through automatic process, because the Microsoft SQL directly is a server option. So you can just add the IP address of the machine. If it is a Windows machine, just add the IP address of the machine and push the agent, and you can configure the backup. If at all required, you can even have the manual process, but in the automatic process itself, you'll get to add your database to the backup server as a data source. So once your the data sources are added, so whatever that you have asked for, just go to backup, configure backup for either the SQL, MySQL, or PostgreSQL, and the process of backup is all going to be the similar. Not much of a change that you will see here. Adding my source, select the SQL server. So whatever the host detail that I have, I'll be selecting the instance name, and I'll be saving it with the authentication types that I've given. I'll be configuring a backup for that. At the same manner, I'll have this for the MySQL and PostgreSQL as well. So for example, if I'm going to for MySQL, clicking the default repository and using the expanding the source machine. Here, this here is a list of my databases that has been listed. So I can select any of my option, proceed further. Here's the frequency, how often I wanted to take a backup, and even I can set my additional full backups over here. Then here the incremental backup retention comes in, similar to what we have seen in file backups, but here you won't be having deleted file retention. The next is encryption. As I said, the same steps will follow for your backup. So this is the same backup process that you will be following for MySQL, PostgreSQL, and MS SQL in this section. And whatever the data that you have taken a backup, you can directly restore the data from the recovery section. So if I just click on restore, it is downloaded. Here is select the copy or the whichever the backup data that I've selected, that is my database. I'll just select all things, choose a destination where I want to restore it to in the backup server, and then tag it to a location. I can proceed further. Okay, so this is the restoration option for the granular level of application backup that I've configured. And one more thing that I wanted to mention here is restore to the source machine. So that recovery is not covered previously, so I just wanted to show how that works. If, for example, I'll take this file share backup, which we have already configured. So here you could see this is 120 MB, which is compressed to 2.95. When I click to restore, select the file level recovery. Next, the restore version, selecting one of its choice. Select whatever the files that I've selected. Now to the source host. If this is to this server, then it is at the backup server end. If I'm going to choose source host, it will be directly moving on to the source host. That is this particular 163 host from where I have taken a backup. So either I can restore it to the original location or to an alternate location within that host itself, to the source host itself, which can include the deleted file or skip file as well. So that is one of my restoration options that I have, which was recently added. Okay, but at an image level, though I have my image level backups, this, if I'm going to use it for this file level recovery, this feature of source to restore to the source host will be coming up in the later stage of my option. For example, I only get to restore it to my source, that is to the backup server end, or not to the source machine. So that would be something that for image level backups, it will be coming in a another upcoming release. And now I have this source host restore. So these are the options that I have in my newly added version 7.0. And for reports, even in email notifications, you can enable the SMTP settings and the email notification for endpoints to which you were adding the the email IDs. So that can be enabled from the email notifications. So just go to email notification, enable it, and you can email notification for endpoints, you have to use this option. Okay, so once you use it and save it, automatically for that particular endpoint, whatever the status of the backup or the status of the recovery will be sent to the particular user. There is a common email that can also be entered. So for success and failure, I can add any number of emails with just using a comma to separate between them. And I also have the scheduled email notification. So I can give up a report name. I can have a certain email recipients, and I can filter up the schedule, like whatever the like we failed or warning, which I wanted to add to either of my complete machine, or what type of backup it is, file or folder or an image. I can just apply this, and there'll be a schedule notifications, which either it could be a daily or weekly basis on a particular timestamp. So with that, I can also schedule my emails to be sent to the particular mail ID. So these are the reporting sessions that I have. I can also integrate it to my ConnectWise ticketing for an MSP purpose when enabled. Okay. And now after these that we have seen, I again wanted to go back to the section regarding the tenancy. So I can enable my tenants. I can create any number of tenants so that I'm just grouping my users into tenants. So a particular tenant with the privilege can be able to access the console, and they get an option to restore and only to read only through the reports that they have seen. So all these can be enabled from the tenant section. And if you want to add the users under the tenants, you can add it through the AD or LDAP server that you're going to add it to the backup server for integration purpose. And here's your two-factor authentication. To enable this two-factor authentication, please have your SMTP settings enabled. So once you enable, you will be giving up the detail. Here's the username and the password. On each time when you enable, automatically the two-factor authentication will send a verification code to the email ID that you have entered. Okay, so for now I'm just disabling it. Oh, this is what your complete version 7.0 has for you. And this time, the stability of the product has also been increased much on a higher stance. So all these put together is your BDRSuite console that you're seeing now. Okay. Or even you can preview on your tenancy. Like if I just wanted to see only my physical tenant, which includes on my physical machines of Windows, Linux, and Mac, and it should not be showing Hyper-V or VMware or KVM backups, then I'm just previewing that tenant. So it shows me only with this, okay, 1 minute. So it shows me, it will be showing me only with that cloud tenant, whatever I've just taken a backup in my cloud. So all these will be shown. So that is how your tenancy work. I'm just in the preview page. I'm just moving on to the non-preview page. Okay. Yeah. So this is how your BDRSuite version 7.0 overview is all about. So now we can just leave the session. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in, and have a wonderful day.